back?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great, there's been ups and downs just like there is with every season. But, I really enjoy this group of guys. You know, we get on the floor, we work hard together, we leave the floor and we're the bestest of friends. So just spending this year with them and, the coaching staff, it's been great. And, I'm excited to, finish this thing out the right way. But just got to keep working here till the end of the season.
Well, one of the things that Coach Holtmann mentioned, I think it was about last week, I was after the Michigan win, he said that it's becoming a player-led locker room and how you need that to have success at this point in the season. How have you seen that in your different years here as far as guys taking ownership of the team as you get to this part of the season, and how do you think this team is in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important. In years past, it tends to be the older guys. It's not always the seniors, but it tends to be the older guys, that are leading the way with that. And it's really, just by, leading by example every day, how we're supposed to work and practice at this time of year, paying attention to the important things, the small details. Something that we've been working on, like I've mentioned a bunch of times, is defense. Coach has been, really pressing that on us, especially the past few games. And I think we've been able to respond pretty well. But, that starts with us, the older guys, and doing that in practice and, showing the younger guys how important that is and, what that's going to mean for us, down the stretch. So at this time of year, I think it's big for the older guys to step up and just, lead by example and, be that voice for the younger guys as well.
Kyle, you mentioned defense, and what has clicked for you guys, especially in the last 2 games? I know Coach was saying that you guys were watching some film from, a few of his other teams at Ohio State. And, what type of things was he showing you in those clips, and then what has worked so well for you guys here lately?
Just having it mean more to us, really, would be what it comes down to. Taking more pride on that end of the floor. We were struggling a little bit there defensively. But what it comes down to is just our communication, I think, was huge for us. Attention to detail with scouting report. But really just having it mean more. And I think, over these past few games, we really, everyone's been bought in. And I think it's shown with, the results. So.
How are you holding up physically? I mean, obviously you've dealt with injury issues in the past, but it seems like this has been your, maybe your healthiest season. Of course, there was the thing at the beginning of the year, but and I know you guys are also about to go on a pretty grueling stretch here in terms of a lot of games in a short period of time. Just wondering, how you're holding up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. Soreness as usual, but we're playing a lot of games. It happens, especially this time of year. You'll hit a point like that, but overall pretty good. I feel like I've had a pretty good year in regards to that. So, just got to keep up with rehab, stuff like that for my body and body maintenance, all that good stuff, and just keep it rolling.
Kyle, one of the things Ryan Peden, and this is kind of going back to what you were first talking about, but Ryan Peden said the other day that with the older guys, it's more like, you're starting to see a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of your college basketball career. And I'm curious, is that something that's real to you? Is that kind of the reason why it's getting to a point where it's the player-led team and that ownership? Is that kind of the reason why you would say?
I don't know too much. I mean, it is I've been here 5 years, so I've been playing for a long time, a lot of miles on my body, but still, unsure about, what I want to do after this. This is the end of my college career, so, it does kind of, make you realize, a lot of us are going to be done, playing college basketball after this year, so, there's just a little bit more importance to it, a little bit more, intensity to what we're doing every day, just because, you do see that. So I think coming into work every day, we realize, there's stuff we do need to get done. We don't want to waste time because, here in about a month, we're going to be, done with college basketball. So, we want to finish the right way. So.
How do you get younger guys to? I mean, they don't understand that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not something that they're at yet.
Yeah.
How do you get them to buy into that mindset, even if they may not have been in your shoes or this situation?
Yeah, I mean, you can always, talk to them about it, obviously, express that with your voice. But like I was saying, leading by example is huge right now because, if you're out there, working super hard on the floor every day, even in practice and little drills, getting on people about, got to go 100% on this drill, even though it might not seem like it means that much, it can go a long way. So if they see, the older guys doing it, it's just easier to, catch on to. And that's when I was younger, just from experience, seeing the older guys go through that stuff and how hard they were working, it just made me want to work that much harder. So knowing that, just trying to lead by example has been big for us.
I asked Joey last week. He's a sixth-year guy. There are freshmen on this team. He said, I think he was graduating high school when they were going into 8th grade. How do you relate with guys? I mean, you're not quite a sixth-year, but how do you relate with some of the young guys on this team? I know you had a year with Michi last year, but just relating with guys that are significantly younger than you are at this point.
Honestly, you know, a lot of times just trying to share my experience with some of the stuff I've been through. If I see, you know, similar things they're going through or similar struggles or similar victories, you know, just ways to, you know, let them know how to get through those moments and, you know, talk to them about it because there's a huge age difference. Like Joey did mention that to us the other day, and we never really thought about it like that, so it was just funny. But yeah, just really trying to, you know, share experiences that I've had with them so they can kind of, you know, do their best to get through it. And yeah, we're all pretty close on this team, so we've developed a pretty good relationship with all the guys, and you know, we're happy to be around each other all the time.
And not to bring up something I'm sure you're aware of, but your shooting hasn't been where I imagine you want the last few games. How much is value to you the other things that you bring to the court when that's not going down for you?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I've always said, it's just, you know, whatever I can bring to the table at the time, you know, I always like to let the game come to me. I have noticed, you know, my shooting hasn't been as well over the past, I think it's like 5-6 game stretch. You know, I'm still going to keep shooting it, just, you know, stay confident in that. But, you know, I feel like I've been able to bring a lot of other things to the table, you know, is what, like, defense. I feel like my defense has been really on point these last few games, as well as, you know, just my effort. I've been able to, you know, ramp that up a little bit more back from when we, you know, had that break, that COVID break. So there's some of those things that I've been able to, you know, bring to the table, which whatever helps the team, you know, I'm willing to do. But, you know, hopefully with consistent reps and work every day, that shooting will get back on point too.
What's it been like? Just we talked a lot in the preseason, all the size that you have, and kind of working in that rotation with Zed and with EJ and Joey, just kind of figuring out roles and seeing how that has that progressed. Kind of how you thought it would this season, as far as everyone kind of finding their lane to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of hard to tell, you know, how it would turn out, but you know, that still could be changing, you know, leading up until March. You know, especially, you know, trying to find like a good, you know, however many guy rotation, you know, coach wants to use, or, you know, however many guys it's going to be, because, you know, you could have somebody, you know, from what I've seen in the past, like my experience, you could have somebody that hasn't played that many minutes up until this point, and then they really have their breakout moment, you know, and start playing a lot. So I think it could still be changing, but yeah.
And you talked about back to the sort of player-led locker room thing. You mentioned like paying attention to guys when you were younger. Who were some of those guys on some of those early teams that you took notes from?
Yeah, I mean, so freshman year would have been like JT and Kada. You know, I learned a lot from them, playing behind both of them. You know, just work ethic. You know, what needs to be brought to the table every day, every game. You know, both players that, you know, have excelled in the game. So those are just two early examples, but you know, I learned a lot from those guys, and even like guys like CJ Jackson, and, you know, and those guys as well. So I've been, you know, blessed to be around a lot of good players in my career that have, you know, taught me a lot of good things.
Specifically about Iowa, I know they're one of the most they're a high tempo team. You know, they move you fast, and I'm wondering, I guess, especially with 2 games in 3 days, like, what is that? How do you prepare for that, and then how do you kind of, I mean, move past it, like, to be able to focus on Indiana with such a quick turnaround? What's kind of that approach like?
Yeah, you know, just we've been preparing. You know, it starts in practice, kind of looking at, you know, how they're going to play us, and you know, they're one of the better offensive teams, so they're going to get out and run and move, and you know, we have to be ready for that. So leading up till that, you know, like I said, we've been working every day in practice, and then we do have a quick turnaround on Monday, but first we want to focus on Saturday and, you know, get a good win here at home, hopefully. We feel like we prepared really well. So
is that something that, I mean, whether it's, you know, you guys are focused on Iowa right now, but in the back of your minds, like, oh my gosh, like, there's a lot of games left, and there's not a lot of time. Are you worried about, like, the wear and tear, or is that something that, you know, the coaches have kind of been, you know, pressing on you guys to make sure your bodies are right for this final stretch, or what has that been like?
I wouldn't say we're worried. I mean, we definitely understand, like, what's coming ahead of us, because you know, it's a lot of games. It's just how it is. Like, it's going to be tough on your body regardless. But, you know, I think I've mentioned it a lot in the past, is just taking that day-to-day approach, which Coach always preaches, will help us because just focus on the day ahead of you, whether that's taking care of your body, not doing too much on the practice floor, having a hard practice, getting ready for the game, whatever it's going to be, to get us ready for the next game and then go from there. That's all you can really do instead of looking ahead, because then you don't want to get ahead of yourself. So.
Kyle, looking at Iowa, obviously they have Keegan Murray, and he's really kind of come into his own the last couple of games. 5 straight games with more than 20 points, 6 rebounds and more in all those games as well. Just what have you kind of seen from him on film, and what do you think you'll need to do to kind of slow him down?
Yeah, I mean, from everything I've seen this year, he's an incredible player. Kind of all-around guy, shoots it, drives it, rebounds the ball well, defends. So he's their guy, and they got a lot of good players as well. But we have had to focus a lot of our attention with Scout, on him, knowing what he can do. But it's going to be a team effort again. Defensively, I think that's our key moving forward with every game. It's just how well we lock in defensively as a team, and regardless of who they have. But he's been incredible for them this year, and we're excited for this matchup on Saturday. Cool. Yep. Yep.
All right, guys. Obviously got a big weekend here. Starting with a really good Iowa team. Got a lot of respect for them as a group. I think their numbers would suggest that they're a top 25 team in the country. Their metrics are really good, and for good reason. They're really gifted offensively. They're well coached. They play exceptionally hard. They obviously have an NBA lottery pick, and they've got some other guys that are really gifted and really talented and experienced. And the Murray brothers are tremendous players. I think both of them will definitely play in the NBA. Obviously, one is going to be headed there this year. So it's a gifted team, and going to be a great challenge for us. And we need a good day of prep here today. As far as updates on guys, we expect Michi to be able to play. Justice Suing continues to, do a few more things each and every day, but there's no new update on him.
You mentioned Keegan, and when you are going as a player like that, he's not the first NBA lottery pick you've played this year. Does that? I know they're different positions, different guys, but does the fact that you've played elite talent, individual talent like that, does that help at all when you in a game like this?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it does, and we're certainly aware of the kind of year that he's had, and you follow the league very thoroughly, so you knew from last year the talent that he was, and so did other coaches and people who followed the league. But to the kind of casual fan, they might be saying, "Where did this kid come from?" I think we all knew that he was going to be. He's a special talent. His dad, I believe, played in the NBA, and he's got great bloodlines, and he's as gifted. He's really as gifted as anybody we've played against all year. Any player we played against all year, he's right there, and this is as tough a home challenge as we've had all year. I really believe that. I think the way, obviously, they beat us here last year, but just the way they can come at you offensively, and then their defense is good because of their length.
And I think a lot of people would expect we're going to see the Keegan Murray, EJ Liddell showdown. I know it's going to be a team effort. Kyle was talking about it's not just going to be EJ that would be matched up against him. But
Right.
When EJ is going into a game where that's going to be some of the outside perspective, how do you think he approaches that? Is it any different for him?
I don't know. You'd have to ask him. I think certainly he's aware, but he knows they're a good team, and they can beat you. A number of guys, including his brother Chris, a number of guys can step up and get 20. Bohannon's done it for years. Fran's sons are terrific players. They're different in how they play, but they're terrific players in how they attack you. And his younger son just continues to get better and better, but both of them really impact winning. So they're a competitive group too. You obviously know they're coming off a loss. They are going to. We're going to see their very best tomorrow for sure.
Coach, defensively, you guys have really been, improved the last couple of games, and I know that was a point of emphasis for you guys. I know you said that you had shown clips of a few of the previous, defenses you had that were really good. What specifically about maybe those teams or what they were doing has been able to kind of inspire the group in the last couple of games here?
I'm not sure. It was only just a point of reference to show that, hey, there were some things maybe that these groups did that allowed them to be a top 20 defense in the country. And we had, some of it was obviously personnel driven. There were some different personnel on our third team, the COVID year, and our first year's team. But they just had a real, I think as much as anything you're stressing, the daily commitment. We had a little bit better length and size on the interior on both those teams. But I think as much as anything, you're trying to stress a couple points and the team connection as much as anything.
What do you feel like the team has done better, though, defensively in these last couple of games?
I think it's a commitment and it's a buy-in, and we'll get tested. This is the best offense we've played, so at least certainly at home. So this is, I mean, you look at their numbers. Offensively, they're the best offensive team we've played at home, and I'm not sure how close it is. Maybe Duke's close, but it's going to get really tested tomorrow. But I think as much as anything, a commitment from your best players. That's where it's got to come from. A commitment from our best players.
With guys like Kyle being able to come back, Joey being a sixth year, and I asked both of them about this, but the relationships between guys that old and some of your freshmen.
Yeah.
How have you seen those guys kind of gel together? Because that is a pretty big age gap from guys that were just in high school to guys that have been out for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean they're all really good kids, so they're they may not and it is a separation in age and a separation in terms of kind of where their lives are headed. But I think both those guys and all of our older guys, for that matter, kind of enjoy building relationships with young guys, and they see kind of where they were themselves starting college and kind of the wide-eyed look. And I think they've taken, Kalen and Michi and Malachi and some of those young guys and Zed and Gene and kind of taken them under their wings a little bit, which has been good to see.
And you've said a couple times about Iowa being the biggest home challenge. You mentioned Duke.
Yeah.
Why is this, in your eyes, a more difficult challenge than Duke specifically, but you've played a lot of good teams here?
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin certainly was a challenge as well. I just think Iowa's ability to score the ball, we've had plenty of challenges, and I'm no disrespect to any other team. I think the way that this is as great as any home game we've had in terms of the challenging and what they provide. It's certainly as great as any of those teams. I just think you look at the quality of their team, the fact that they do have NBA talent, and they have the ability to get, to score in bunches, and I think their length defensively can cause problems.
We asked you this before you guys were supposed to play Iowa last time, but I mean, what role does tempo with Iowa play into this, like preparing for one of the quicker and faster-paced teams that you've seen as of late?
Yeah, no, I think as much as anything, we're not trying to. We don't talk about tempo as much. We don't ever really talk about tempo. We want to play fast and downhill in the first 8 to 10 seconds of the clock if we can. That doesn't change based on who we're playing. And we want to play with pace in the half court. So they're a really good half court team too, offensively. They're good, really good in transition, but they're good in the half court too. They move you and space you, and they run great motion offense, which is a little bit different than what a lot of teams run.
I guess especially with 2 games in 3 days. I mean, how are you? Obviously, you're focused on Iowa now, but how do you ensure that your players are kind of ready for kind of just the physicality of and just prepared for 2 games in 3 days, especially?
Yeah, we've looked at it in practice a little bit. I don't know that there's anything specifically that you can do other than you understand that we've all been part of these tournament settings before, where you're playing 3 games in 2 days, and you kind of look at it that way. And we've adjusted some things with practice time, and knowing we're going to need to do that. I think more than anything, you look at the quality of opponents we're playing, and it's exciting, but it's two tremendous challenges here. I think they're two NCAA tournament teams, and they're 2 teams that I think have the chance to finish in the upper half of our league.
I was looking at Iowa's defensive numbers. They lead the Big Ten in turnover percentage.
Yeah.
They're 82nd in the country in turnover percentage, which surprised me. I feel like the Big Ten normally there's more. I don't know. Does it maybe just as a bigger picture thing? Does that surprise you as well? That as you've looked at the league this year, that the best team in the Big Ten at turning teams over would be 82nd nationally?
No, because we don't have a lot of teams in our league that are, when you think of them, they just absolutely turn you over. We have some really positionally sound teams and some teams that make it very difficult for you to score in the half court. But and some of our teams that typically turn you over, like a Purdue, doesn't turn you over as much this year. So I just look at them and I think it makes sense. You got the length and the versatility that they have, and then they have some guards. Toussaint is, I mean, he's a bulldog. He comes after the ball. So they got some guys that really just come after your ball.
You had talked about some of the player-driven locker rooms, and Kada and Jay Sean especially in that first year. I was asking Kyle about that. He brought those guys up. I know JT's playing in the Rising Stars game tonight in the NBA, but when you think on that first year and what those guys did, when you talk about leaving a legacy, that those are kind of being held up as examples for these current guys. Can you reflect a little bit on what it did mean for you to have those two guys in that first year and how you're still feeling their impact here?
Oh, they mean so much to me and to our program. I mean, Jay Sean and Kada and even C.J. Jackson, who was with us one more year, Cam, Andrew Dockich, who just came with us, but also gave us a great deal of leadership. But when obviously people think of the two guys that are in the NBA now, but I think they mean so much to us because of they really did set a tremendous leadership example, and I think as much as anything. Kyle probably thinks of them because that's who he came. That was his first year was with them, and that's who he came in with. Bless you. And he so I'm sure he reflects on those guys because they were our best players, and they were also tremendous kids. I mean, I think I said that on a number of occasions that year that they were our best players, but they were also, some of our some of our best kids. So to see their success is really exciting, and I had a chance to go out and see Kada last year and talk to the Spurs a little bit and talk to the general manager, and was excited that they were thinking about getting another contract for him. And I told him, I said, I don't think you can go wrong with him. He'll play whatever role you need it. And same thing with JT. You knew that when he was given an opportunity. And we know what happens a lot for guys like that. People question JT's ability to shoot, and that kind of kept him from the NBA. I think the fact that we played him at the one really did open some people's eyes that last year. But they're just such good people that you're super happy for them. It's okay.
Clearly, you're not prone to starting a guy who's coming off of an injury. You did it with Gene when Michi was out. But now to get Michi back, what does that do for your lineup? And how do you kind of balance, Gene's starting to get comfortable in a starting role.
Yeah.
Then he goes back. Does he come back from off the bench, or how are you going to try to navigate that little piece?
Well,
of this?
yeah, no, I think Michi's got to find his way. We've won a few games here, and I think he's got to continue to kind of find his way to impact the team, just like anybody does off of an injury. So, listen, you're not going to be able to play. We're not going to be able to play the same type of rotation that we played, as we go the back, this kind of back end of our schedule. I think the rotation at times is going to have to get a little bit tighter. Guys' minutes might suffer a little bit. I don't know who that's going to be right now because it's kind of a game-to-game situation. But I think there's always a little bit of fluidity and juggling that goes on. But we need everybody. And as I mentioned, whether it's Gene or Michi, we need those guys to be ready. But we need them to be ready when they're healthy enough to play because both guys are going to be important for us.
You just talked about tightening the rotation a little bit, but I guess contrary to that, you're going to play, however many games in so many few days, and it's almost like an NBA schedule more than it is a conference tournament schedule. Is there a balance that you have to strike between we have to tighten this up because we have to have the best players on the floor to win these games, and we need these guys fresh so on March 7th after senior day, we're not burnt out and, go out.
There is a balance. There is a balance for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think our rotation can be too tight. There's a mental and physical fatigue that comes through this. And, as I mentioned, I think we was such a unique situation with staying in the same hotel last year. And, but we saw that last year with the Big Ten tournament. But I think, absolutely. I think I'm not saying we're going to go to a 6-man rotation. I'm just saying, there might be minutes that are shrunk a little bit as we continue to play.
If I can sneak one quick one in, I was listening to another coach talk this morning about he's not coaching the team that he expected to because of injuries. I feel like it got me thinking that you guys are kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Now that you're however many games into this season with it, do you give yourself time to think about how this is absolutely not the roster that you thought you'd be coaching at the beginning of the season, or do you kind of let that go until the end of March when you're done?
Yeah, I think I kind of let it go until the end of March because it's out of my control. And if you dwell on it too much, it maybe takes your attention off of the guys you do have and the guys you do have to coach and want to get better. We wouldn't be where we are without a number of guys who've now stepped into increased roles, maybe more increased roles than we anticipated. All right. I get that. You know, in an ideal world, would I be playing, you know, Malachi 32 minutes a night in Big Ten play? I've got to watch his kind of the freshman wall and his fatigue level. But there is an element of where we're at right now with some of our injuries, and then kind of not our season-ending injuries, but our injuries to two of our top 8 who haven't played much this year. So I just try not to. You know, if you talk about it too much, people are, you're making excuses. I don't know what we're making excuses for. We've had some great wins. If you talk about it, you know, I also don't want to ignore the fact that it's a reality, and I hate it for those kids, and I hate it for our team. But as much as anything, you focus on just the guy, really invest in the guys you have, and you know that they're capable as well. They're more than capable. We've had great minutes from guys who've had to step into kind of the role or similar roles that maybe a Justin or Justice and a Seth would. So thank God we've been able to have that depth.
Just not to make light of bad news, but I saw the fire yesterday at the Oakland Hills Country Club. And I wondered if you could relate at all what it was like for you to golf there in June of 2017.
Yeah,
especially the back nine.
Yeah, no, that was you know, I had not golfed there. Greg Campy does a great thing, a great fundraiser for cancer. It's a really cool thing. You go there and you see some of the young people that are struggling, and it's a way to raise money, and people pay money to golf. And I think I had to replace Roy Williams in that event, and I apologize to Greg for his donors might not be as willing to play with me as they would Roy Williams, but it was a great time, and you know, I met some people that I hadn't met and spent some time with. Hadn't spent a whole lot of time with Greg. There were some other media people there. Yeah, but that was certainly a good time. I feel bad for that club and what that club means to people. You know, I've been a member of a country club before, although I don't really go. I'm not able to go much, but I know how important, you know, having that kind of place is. And obviously that was a significant day because that was the day that Thad resigned. So, or around that time.
Smooth back nine way.
No. I mean, it was certainly a lot of conversation that at the time I just kind of ignored. So, didn't help my golf game though. All right.